Three things most people don't realize every year. Millions of tons of weeds are pulled, burned, or thrown away. At the same time, farmers spend billions buying fertilizer to replace nutrients their soil has already lost. And hidden in plain sight, the very plants we call useless are pulling those nutrients back from deep underground. For free. What if the problem was never the weeds? What if the real mistake was removing them? Because in soil science, in ancient agriculture, and in forgotten systems of survival, weeds were never the enemy. Okay, they were the solution. That is not an accident. Welcome to Floracraft Garden, where old knowledge meets modern silence. Today's idea sounds simple. Too simple, so simple. It was ignored. Pulling weeds feels productive, clean rows, bare soil, control. But what if that act is slowly killing your land? And what if the same plants you're removing could turn your soil into something richer, darker, more alive, without buying anything? To understand this, we have to go back, far back, before chemical fertilizers, before industrial farming, before soil became something we had to fix. More than Artling years ago in ancient China, farmers noticed something unusual. Fields left untouched didn't collapse, they thrived. Wild plants covered the land, not crops, not grains, just what we now call weeds. But the soil underneath was dark, soft, moist, and alive. Instead of fighting these plants, they studied them. Certain weeds appeared in poor soil, others in compacted ground, some only grew where minerals were missing. They weren't random, they were signals, and more importantly, they were workers. Deep-rooted plants like wild dock and dandelion reached far below the surface. Where rain couldn't reach, where minerals sat locked away, calcium, magnesium, potassium, they pulled them up through their roots into their leaves. And when those plants died or were cut and left behind, those nutrients stayed in the topsoil, free fertilizer. No chemicals, no cost, just time and understanding. In ancient Rome, farmers followed similar patterns and stripped land completely. They allowed certain plants to grow, then cut them back, letting them decompose where they stood. It wasn't neglect, it was strategy. In parts of Africa, generations passed down a quiet rule: never leave soil bare. If crops weren't growing, something else should be, because exposed soil loses life. Covered soil builds it. These were not theories. They were systems tested over centuries, repeated across continents, and strangely, almost identical everywhere. Now, modern science is catching up, and what it reveals is even more surprising. Weeds are not random plants, they are biological tools. Many have deep tap roots that act like natural drills, breaking compacted soil and opening pathways for water and air. At the same time, these roots interact with microbes, bacteria, and fungi that live in the soil. Together, they form a system. Plants feed microbes, microbes unlock minerals, and minerals feed plants. A continuous, self-sustaining cycle. But when a weed is pulled out completely, roots and all, that system is broken. The pathway is removed. The exchange is interrupted. When the plant is cut and left on the surface, something different happens. The roots decay underground, feeding microbes. The leaves break down above, returning nutrients to the soil. This process, known as green manure, can match or even exceed the impact of store-bought fertilizers, not because it adds something new, but because it unlocks what was already there. Weeds don't create nutrients, they move them, concentrate them, make them available. Some plants specialize in certain mineral. Dandelion is rich in potassium. Chickweed carries nitrogen. Plantain holds calcium. They are not useless. They are precise, targeted, almost as if the land knows what it needs and grows the solution. And when those plants return to the soil, that solution stays. This idea didn't stay in one place. It spread quietly across regions and cultures. In Japan, natural farming allowed weeds to grow alongside crops, not removed but managed, cut and dropped, forming a living mulch. In India, farmers used wild plants to restore damaged land without fertilizers or external inputs. In South America, indigenous communities layered plant material back into the earth, building soil over time instead of extracting from it. Even early European farming relied on fields being left to rest, not empty, but filled with wild growth that rebuilt the land. The results were consistent, stronger crops, better water retention, healthier soil, and less dependency. The system worked everywhere it was applied, then something changed, gradually at first, then completely. Agriculture shifted from cycles to control, from observation to intervention. Chemical fertilizers promised speed, instant results, predictable outputs. And for a time, it worked. Yields increased, production scaled, efficiency improved. But there was a cost. Soil stopped behaving like a living system and became a surface that needed constant input. Nutrients no longer cycled naturally. They had to be added again and again. At the same time, weeds were redefined. No longer indicators or helpers, they became competitors, invaders, something to eliminate. Herbicides followed, designed not just to remove but to prevent. Landscapes changed into clean, bare, controlled fields. And slowly the connection between plants and soil was broken. This wasn't a conspiracy, it was momentum. Economic systems favor predictability and repeatable processes. Selling fertilizer is simple. Understanding soil biology is not. Over time, one replaced the other quietly and almost completely. But something didn't add up. Despite more inputs, soil health declined, water retention dropped, erosion increased. Farmers needed more fertilizer each year just to maintain the same results. The system became dependent, not regenerative. And in the background, the old methods remained, ignored, underestimated. Waiting today, the cost is visible. Rising food prices, spreading soil degradation, and in small pockets around the world, a different approach is returning. Not new, just remembered. People are starting to question the idea of weeds, looking closer, observing patterns, seeing which plants grow where and why. Instead of pulling them, they cut them, leave them, let them decompose. Layer by layer, soil begins to rebuild naturally. No chemicals, no constant expense, or just cycles, slow at first, then accelerating. Because once soil begins to heal, it doesn't stop. Microbial life returns, structure improves, moisture stays longer. Plants grow stronger, and something unexpected happens. Weed patterns change, less aggressive species appear, balance returns. Because the soil no longer needs correction, this is not about letting everything grow wild. It's not about doing nothing. It's about doing less, but understanding more. Instead of removing weeds completely, cut them at the base. Let the roots stay. Let the leaves return to the soil, watch what grows, observe patterns, because each plant carries information. Each patch of growth is feedback. And slowly, the system begins to work with you, not against you. You don't need perfect conditions. You don't need expensive inputs. You don't need to fight nature. You just need to stop interrupting it. There's a reason this knowledge feels unfamiliar. It doesn't fit the modern model. It doesn't scale easily. It doesn't rely on constant purchasing. And because of that, it was pushed aside, not erased, just forgotten. But the signs are still there. In abandoned fields that turn green again. In forests that build soil without help. in cracks of concrete where plants break through, starting the process all over